Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
All right, this is, I feel, Bob Seska retweeted this. I feel, if you have not read the Time magazine, yeah. Again, he's telling us, anybody at this point that can be like, oh, it's just Trump talking, no. You need to listen to this.
This is an outline.
He means it.
Yeah. What emerged in 2 interviews with Trump and conversations with more than a dozen of his closest advisors and confidants were the outlines of an imperial presidency that would reshape America and its role in the world, to carry out a deportation operation designed to remove more than 11 million people from the country. Trump told me he would be willing to build migrant detention camps and deploy the U.S. military, both at the border and inland. He would let red states monitor women's pregnancies and prosecute those who violate abortion bans. He would, at his personal discretion, withhold funds appropriated by Congress, according to top advisors. He would be willing to fire U.S. attorneys who didn't carry out his order to prosecute someone, breaking with a tradition of independent law enforcement that dates from America's founding. He is weighing pardons for every one of his supporters accused of attacking the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, more than 800 of whom have pled guilty or been convicted by a jury. He might not come to the aid of the attacked ally in Europe or Asia if he felt that country wasn't paying enough for its own defense. He would gut the U.S. Civil Service, deploy the National Guard to American cities as he sees fit, close the White House Pandemic Preparedness Office, perfect, and staff his administration with acolytes who back his false assertion that the 2020 election was stolen. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. If that is not enough to chill every bone in your body. And Bob tweeted, when people who voted for him because gas is $3 realize what they've done to democracy, it will be too late. They won't be able to vote him out.
Hi, Stephanie. There's no way to make any of that funny.
No,
so I'm not even going to try. No. The thing that sticks out to me is the fact that this guy who presided over the deaths of 400,000 Americans in his last 10 months in office, he's now going to close the pandemic preparedness office once he gets back in, just as bird flu is starting to become an issue.
Right.
I mean, this is insanity. I mean, there are actual people who voted for Joe Biden last time who are going, hey, you know what? Let's get that crazy person back again. Let's get that unforgivable monster who presided over a colossal recession, just an utter disaster for 4 years.
America will be Suzanne Plachette at the end of Birds.
Yes.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Getting our eyeball pecked out. Yeah.
And then as the mass graves are being dug, as people are being loaded into refrigerated trucks, they're going, in a few years we'll be able to vote him out. He'll leave. No. That's not how that's going to work. Nope. He's not going anywhere. Yep. Once he gets in, he is locked down. He's sandbagging himself into that building, and he's not going to leave. There will not be an opportunity to get rid of him. 25th Amendment, impeachment, none of that's going to work.
And
because he's going to,
First of all, the Supreme Court already installed George W. Bush and stopped the counting. So, they were just getting warmed up, a lot of the people that are on the Supreme Court now. I mean, Lawrence Tribe said Justices Alito, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh's insistence on taking the case, then slow walking the schedule, now focusing on how to protect the office of the presidency into the future, means perversely that in the actual case before them, they are creating the conditions to let the man who nearly destroyed the Constitution get off scot-free, all while setting the stage for him to complete the task. Certainly, if he's elected, the prosecution against him will vanish faster than you can say dictator on day one. Back on Earth One, though, facts still matter. I mean, that's how terrifying and how huge a turnout we're going to need, Bob. God forbid this goes to the Supreme Court again.
Right. I hate to use a sports ball reference, but this is like a full court press against democracy, because if it's not going to be Donald Trump, the Supreme Court is going to do just fine as far as not only destroying basically the reputation of 1/3 of the federal government. I mean, the third branch of government, the Supreme Court. But also making it more likely that presidents can act with impunity, do whatever they want. I mean, the very idea that they entertained this argument. And I was wondering, is someone pulling John Roberts aside at the cocktail party circuit and saying, that was a stupid effing move that you did. You're just paying attention to this nonsensical argument that Donald Trump probably made while he was sitting on his golden toilet, just going over and over the election. How could he possibly have lost? And then he just made up this thing about presidential immunity, which I still contend he mistook with executive privilege. I think that he originally thought, oh, isn't there something that the president gets to do with impunity? Oh, wait a minute.
He's dumb.
Executive privilege, presidential immunity. Somehow these two things have been morphed together.
I was going to use this as a guess, the quote, it's Joyce Vance.
Okay, let's do this.
But to your point, Bob,
Yeah.
when God made him pretty and gave him so many muscles. Okay. She said the hypothetical that I'm hoping the government will pose in the argument is a more extreme version of the SEAL Team 6 hypo we'd heard in the Court of Appeals, where a judge asked if Trump's theory would absolve them if he used the military to take out political opponents. Why not take this a step further? Tell the court if Trump has the sort of broad immunity he claims he does, a president would be free to order the assassination of Supreme Court justices who disagree with him and could not be prosecuted for doing that. Make the impact of Trump's argument unmistakable.
Yeah.
Joyce
Yeah.
Vance.
Yogi Bear.
No, I just
Huckleberry Hound.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Oh, damn it.
Droopy.
Joke.
no.
The Riddler. Just going to start shouting out. Just gonna
I
start
reverse
naming nuts.
engineered this. Guess the quote. Everybody, stop.
Macadamia nut. All white pistachio nut.
Stop
I'm just
it.
going to start saying things.
But you know,
yeah,
it does show how ridiculous this argument is, and they should say it. Okay,
Yeah.
so he could take you out, right?
Right. And Trump's attorney, John Sauer, who argued before the appeals court and then also in front of the Supreme Court, this ludicrous thing that Donald Trump made up in his worm-infested brain, he was claiming that, well, there is something that you can do to a lawless president. You can impeach that president. Well, if that president is lawless, that president can easily remove members of Congress enough so that any sort of impeachment measure will never succeed. So this is absolutely insane. We have crossed the threshold with this Supreme Court argument that goes beyond the ridiculousness of the Hobby Lobby decision or Bush v. Gore or Citizens United. This is not just an attack on democracy. This is the Supreme Court essentially tearing down its own reputation. Yep. And I don't know how that gets resolved. You know, I keep thinking in terms. Sometimes when I get really, really dark, Stephanie, I go, what's it going to take in this country to create this reckoning where half of the voting population suddenly realizes what's going on and oh my God, we've got to pull back from this. What is the thing because we can't continue on this present course where every single election is a referendum on democracy. It can't continue.
I mean, yeah, it's the leaning back in your chair reference you always make. That how long can we just be like, oh my God, are we going to fall and break our neck?
If you saw the CNN poll the other day, that was the feeling that I got as soon as, and it's
why I
of
didn't
course an
print it.
outlier, but
Or to make a 9 to 5
was
reference,
still-
lean back and fall and hit her head on the credenza.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a credenza involved, America. But you know, when you read this terrifying time thing about what he's going to do, I think the scary thing is you're like, how many people live here in America with me that are like, oh, good. Yeah, that's what I want. I mean,
Right.
I have to
Well,
hope
those
it's a
people-
minority, you know. Yeah,
Those people have a false sense of security. They have a false sense of the stability of the American system. They believe that anything can happen. You can do anything, you put anyone into the White House, it doesn't matter. The system will go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is the system is held together, obviously, by the rule of law, the U.S. Code, the Constitution, but there are all kinds of things, unwritten rules, traditions, the very nature of goodwill, good intention. That is required for our system to continue.
Yeah.
And the second you start meddling around with that by putting nincompoops like Donald Trump in there, doing whatever the Heritage Foundation is telling him to do with Project 2025, that's going to
I feel like
upend the whole thing.
makes him considerably less evil than he
Right.
actually
Yeah.
is. But-
Nincompoop is a little too cute.
Nincompoop, I know.
Yeah.
Nincompoop is underselling.
and his scampery.
Yeah, I was just like running through my adjectives. What's a good adjective for monster? I've used all of them.
I mean, this brings us to this whole our discussion about the campus stuff going on. Trump again smeared pro-Palestinian protesters on college campuses by comparing them to the white supremacist rally in Charlottesville. He said the Biden protests that are going on are horrible. Of course, they're Biden right? This is what I'm
Right,
talking about,
course,
bad actors using this for politics. And
right.
Charlottesville is peanut. It's a little peanut compared to what you're looking at
Oh,
now.
God.
Really? Nazis marching through the street who killed a woman, right? That's a little peanut because those are his very fine people. Nazis.
Yeah.
So you've allowed him and this party to pretend, somehow they're like pro-Israel or whatever they are. They are anti-Semitic and anti-Islamic. Bob, Islamophobic.
Yeah, and I would be fine with these protests occurring if there was more of a sense of the long view here. What is being precipitated? What's going to happen here is as these protests continue on, there's going to be more and more damage to Joe Biden. And the consequence of that will be a Donald Trump presidency. And he has pledged that he will deport supporters of Hamas.
All Palestinians that live here now. Right. Yeah.
So these protesters
Muslim ban
are asking
2.0. Right.
That's exactly right. I mean, in the Time magazine piece, we're talking, I mean, this confirming things we've been talking about all along, but 10 million people. I mean, and we're also talking about a lot of American citizens who are going to get looped into the mix, where the names are similar or their faces are similar, and
you're voting for hate if you vote for Donald Trump. If you hate whoever you hate, Muslims, Jews, women, gays, black people, that's the guy for you. I mean, that's this whole love Trump's hate. Does it? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, and I really feel that a lot of the energy toward protests needs to be geared around the fact that democracy, again, is on the chopping block. Democracy is a cliffhanger in this country, and I think there needs to be more outrage about it. Now, 6 months before the election, not the day after the inauguration when it's too late.
Yeah,
and
by the way,
something we do on the left. We always do that on the left.
Yeah.
We always wait until after it's too late, and we have to stop doing that.
I think Netanyahu's a monster. I think he's a war criminal. Hope he goes to the Hague. Hope they get rid of him. But the fact is, this is not Vietnam. This is not our war. Biden's not sending American kids to die. This is a democracy that we can't just remove Netanyahu. Right. I agree. I've even said maybe we are at the point of condition aid or stop aid. I'm open to however we stop this, and I do think it's a genocide at this point. But again, it's not about like what words or whatever. No, as I said yesterday, Bob, no one of good faith is pro-genocide.
Right.
No.
No,
absolutely
so
not. But you want to do the right thing, right? And that's valid. But I think at the same time, you don't want to shoot yourself in the feet in the process. You don't want to seek some sort of liberty for people in Gaza while at the same time condemning the United States to a future of dictatorship and tyranny. That's exactly what's happening here. The cause
and
of
then
democracy
guess who wins?
is being undermined.
Netanyahu wins.
Exactly.
And Putin.
Donald Trump, in addition to wanting to deport supporters of Hamas, which will loop in Palestinian Americans and all sorts of people, in addition to all of that, he's also pledged to send military in to arrest protesters, peaceful protesters. This is all part of the stated plan. This is not partisan hyperbole here. And I think a lot of people in the press believe that it is. It's not. This is what Donald Trump intends to do.
He already told them to shoot Black Lives Matter protesters in the leg or whatever, the knee. I mean, he's talked about shooting shoplifter. I mean, on and on, right?
Yeah, I mean, even Bill Barr was saying in his spineless, wormy way that Donald Trump would routinely talk about executing his opponents. He told Mark Esprit he wanted to shoot the protesters in Lafayette Park. And now imagine Donald Trump without having to ever run again and appeal to the American people.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants, and it will be unaffected by
Bill Barr is a gutless criminal as well. But we have that. We have that, Bob. Hang on, take a listen.
Alyssa Farah Griffin, who was Trump's communications director, posted yesterday and said that you were present at a moment when Trump suggested executing the person who leaked information that he went to the White House bunker when those George Floyd protests were happening outside the White House. Do you remember that?
I remember him being very mad about that. I actually don't remember him saying executing, but I wouldn't dispute it. It doesn't sound. The president would lose his temper and say things like that. I doubt he would have actually carried it out. I don't.
Oh well, that's good enough for me. Oh my God.
That's
fine. You don't recall, much like you don't recall anything about Iran-Contra that you covered up too. One last one. Here we go.
He would say that on other occasions. You said
the president. The president had I think people sometimes took him too literally, and he would say things like similar to that in occasions to blow off steam, but I wouldn't take him literally every time he did it.
Why not?
Because at the end of the day, it wouldn't be carried out, and you could talk sense.
But just because it's not carried out and you could talk sense into him, doesn't that still mean that the threat is there?
He will find someone worse than you, because you wouldn't go along with January 6th or prosecuting Hillary because there was no evidence. He will find someone who will manufacture evidence, who will carry out his violent threats. I mean, it's...
Yeah. It was funny. Whoever that interviewer was, I forget her name. It was
Caitlin
mentioning,
Collins.
mentioning to Bill Barr what Donald Trump's tweet was or whatever he posted on Truth Central the other day, just completely emasculating Bill Barr and just treating him like they love to use the word cuck. He was treating him like a
CC Ron DeSantis. Oh my God, how pathetic was that?
And Bill Barr's reaction to seeing the tweet that Donald Trump wrote about Bill Barr was to say, "Oh, that's classic Trump." I said, "What? What? Oh my God!
How about Ron DeSantis a couple months ago? Like, anybody, these worthless politicians are just going to go kiss the ring, and then cut to, gonna kiss more than your ring. Oh my God, so pathetic. This party.
This is insane, and this is the guy they've decided to worship at all costs.
Yeah,
is the Celebrity Apprentice guy, the ridiculous cartoon character from New York City that we all made fun of in the '80s because of his stupid hair.
Oh my God,
that's the guy they've chosen as their messiah. This is the guy that Bill Barr.
This is a joke that's just gone way too far. It's like, okay, this stopped being funny several years ago. All right, Bob, you never stop being funny, which is why the Bob Seska Show is so essential. SexyLiberal.com, where you get all of your sexy liberal needs met.